Welcome to We Might Be Nerds, a podcast about everything from entertainment and technology to science and history. I'm your host, Dylan Critchfield.
And I'm Kyle Montgomery.
I'm Sarah Critchfield.
And I'm Kyle Montgomery. I'm Jacob Montgomery. Gosh, darn it. Cut. Oh, no.
Oh, no. Everybody's confused as to who's
Kyle
who.
is sus.
Imposter.
This week, we were planning on doing a particular topic, but we're not quite ready to bring that out yet. So, we're rolling back to our usual format, and I believe, Sarah, you have a story you want to tell us.
I have a little bit of history for you, actually. It's some very obscure history that I found, sometime last summer, and I forgot about, and I was reminded of, and thought, hey, I got a kick out of it. Let's share it.
Let's listen.
Yeah.
So this was the result of some random Google rabbit hole. I don't even remember what I was originally looking up, but I came across an extensive list of the most inept world leaders in history. And this was from, this thread's about 2 years old, so keep that in mind. But this one particular answer was my absolute favorite, and I'm just gonna read it to you verbatim.
This is from Quora, right?
Yes, this is a response on Quora by user Tabrez Alam, and I'm sorry if I've mispronounced your name. But you have a way with words, so I'm going to quote you.
Which is like Yahoo Answers, right?
Yes, it's actually... It's a crowdsourced Q&A platform.
It's competent Yahoo Answers is what it is.
Oh.
It's Yahoo, but fixed.
Yes.
Not Jane.
And I will preface this. I did fact check it. The majority of this bit is true. So, hope you enjoy.
Alright, let's buckle in. Let's go.
Alright, so the question was, who is or was the most incompetent world leader in history? And this answer goes, Manuel Mariano Malgarejo Valencia, the 18th president of Bolivia, ruled from 1864 to 1871. So that's only 7 years. And his incompetence is the stuff of legends, even among contemporary Latin American dictators. Born an illegitimate child in 1820 to a wealthy Spanish-Bolivian father and a destitute native woman, he was abandoned as a child. According to stories, he was so ugly a baby that his father left in disgust and his mother gave the baby away to an orphanage. Malgarejo found a career in the army and rose through the ranks as a career officer, in large parts thanks to his talents as a brown-noser and opportunist.
Nice.
In 1854, he joined in on a rebellion against the ruling strongman Manuel Isidoro Belsu. When that rebellion failed, Malgarejo begged for his life, blaming alcohol for his decision to join in the coup.
I'm sorry, I was drunk.
Yeah. Given his reputation as a major alcoholic, Belsu pardoned him. This decision would come back to bite Belsu in 1864, so 10 years later, when Bolivia faced an internal war between the sitting president, Jose Maria de Acha, and former President Belsu. Malgarejo rose up against Acha, overthrew him, and took the city of La Paz. Instead of engaging in diplomacy, Malgarejo shot and killed Belsu with a pistol, and so began the reign of one of Bolivia's most ruthless dictators. It was said that Malgarejo ruled Bolivia in a state of constant inebriation and excess. He centralized the country's treasury and gave himself full control of it,
Of course.
giving out loans and using his troops as loan sharks.
Oh, gosh.
With that money, he spent it to fuel his lavish lifestyles, parties, and orgies.
Oh.
He ruthlessly terrorized and suppressed the indigenous population, seizing all indigenous lands and giving them off to bidders. Not cool. Among the legends, he is said to have ordered an execution on his shirt, which he performed himself with a pistol. So I don't know what his shirt did to offend him so, but he took care of it.
He ordered an execution for the shirt he had been wearing?
Yeah, he shot his shirt in a public display.
His shirt looked way too much like a white flag. He was offended by that gesture.
Hopefully he didn't have anyone wearing it at the time of the shirt's execution.
Well, that would be where the story ends.
Yes.
He left the country's treasury dry, even while the country was experiencing a major economic transformation. Silver was resurgent, and foreign investors placed their money into Bolivia. So he's not very good with money. He doesn't like shirts. His foreign policy decisions are infamous. He signed away coastal land, back when Bolivia had a coastline, to Chile in 1866, and more famously gave away land to Brazil. You'll love this one. As the story went, he was impressed by a magnificent white horse and traced the hoofprint of the horse on a map of Bolivia and ceded that land to Brazil in exchange for the horse. So he let this horse just roam, followed its footsteps, and said, "Okay, Brazil, you can have that. I want that horse."
What? That seems like a bad trade.
It does. It does indeed seem ill-advised.
Usually land lasts longer than a horse.
That must have been one amazing horse.
I guess.
Look at my horse.
This horse is amazing.
This guy was just, yeah.
When the Franco-Prussian War broke out in 1870, Malgarejo allegedly ordered his generals to defend Paris, though he possibly didn't know where it was on a map, even though it was thousands of miles away and across the Atlantic Ocean. Malgarejo declared that his troops should, quote, take a shortcut through the bushes. So, if you're unaware where Bolivia is, it is in South America.
Mm-hmm.
France is across the ocean.
In Europe.
So I don't think any number of bushes you can go through would get you there.
Oh, jeez.
You gotta stack the bushes on the ocean and then go through those bushes.
Just sit on a bush and row yourself all the way up to Europe.
Yeah, sounds like he needs a new branch manager.
Or a brain.
Or go through the bush beer that hadn't been invented yet.
In another possibly apocryphal story, the British ambassador to Bolivia insulted Malgarejo by refusing a drink. In response, Malgarejo had him drink a whole bowl of liquid chocolate, tied him to a donkey, paraded him across La Paz, and then threw him out of the country. So,
well, then.
Easily offended. That was a bit much.
That's some TV. That's some, 80s animation, stuff right there.
Yeah. So, after making this poor ambassador drink a whole bowl of liquid chocolate, tying him to a donkey, and parading him across town, the ambassador brought these complaints to Queen Victoria, who ordered the Royal Navy to bombard La Paz. However, upon realizing that La Paz was inland and high up in the mountains, not on the coast where the Navy could get it, she instead took a large map and just crossed off Bolivia, declaring it no longer existed.
That's
You could just do that?
Apparently you could do that. I mean, she's
Amazing.
a queen, so,
some creative problem solving.
out of sight, out of mind.
Sure, why not?
The British then pulled out of Bolivia for a good half-century.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. In the end, Malgarejo was deposed in 1871 by the commander of the army, In exile, he was killed in Peru by his former mistress's enraged brother. So...
That was anticlimactic. I'll be
a
honest.
little bit, but
Like,
I mean-
hey, guy! I heard you got with my sister. Prepare to die.
yes.
Inigo Montoya style.
Yes.
Exactly.
But yeah, I highly recommend looking up this guy because there's actually a bit more when you fact check it. But that was my favorite summary of his exploits, I guess you'd call it. But just what a mess. What a mess.
Yeah, gosh.
God, the Queen of England just crossed the country out, wrote it off. It was like, okay, we out. We're done.
Yeah, I wish it would just magically disappear. There's just a giant void there.
I have the magics.
This is where Bolivia's supposed to be.
Where is my map? I want to destroy Bolivia. No, just erase it from the map. Just a blank spot. Put ocean there.
There's a void. That's the Bolivian triangle instead of the Bermuda Triangle.
It's been sent to the astral plane.
Indeed it has. What you don't know about Queen Victoria,
The shadow realm.
she had the shadow magics.
Banish Bolivia to the shadow. Good God.
Gosh.
So if you thought the dictators that are around now are bad, oh, bowl of liquid chocolate. Good God.
He wanted that
Delicious.
horse, man.
You gotta get that horse.
Just here, I'm gonna drink off my butt for 7 years and lead this country and spend all its money.
Land is temporary. Horses are forever.
Exactly.
Gosh.
Good Lord.
A horse.
Yeah, and I'll share the link to that Quora thread because there's some more interesting leaders on that list, but none were as fun as Horseman.
Yeah, we will definitely post that and any fact check sites you have in the show notes.
Yes.
sure. God.
But there's your obscure history for the day.
It's good to know. Yeah, I had not heard about that guy.
Never once. Why do our history books not include things like this? That's great.
I'm pretty sure that's why the internet exists, is to bring obscure stories to people who will enjoy
right.
it.
All the things we missed.
Need to
Yeah.
optimize for discoverability on that. Gee.
Yeah.
That's some great Bolivian history right there.
Right. Yeah.
Real men of incompetence.
Today we salute you, Mr. Sell Your Land for a Horse Bolivia guy. Mr. Sell Your Horse guy.
Valencia.
Oh, that's awful. I'm not going to do that again.
You took a country with beautiful coastal land and turned it into a landlocked country.
Landlocked country.
But you didn't get bombarded by the British Navy, so I guess it turned out to be a good thing he did that order of operations there.
Gotta go
You-
through Chile.
You convinced the Queen of England to mark your country off the map as though it didn't exist.
Send it to the shadow realm.
It's a lot of bushes.
Defense mechanism!
Use the bushes.
Gotta get there.
By the way, one of us does sing. Bet you can't guess which one.
Oh God! All right, guys. Sarah, thank you for that.
Yes,
Delightful.
fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
Valencia!
I wish we could
guys.
cap that one off, but I feel like I feel like I would sing it even worse, so I'm going to refrain.
Sounds
And my
good.
ears
So you're gonna start over? You're gonna refrain?
Oh, refrain. Ah ha 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 ha. A music joke for the music guy. I see.
I thought it was pretty
Who knows
sharp.
who's- Oh no.
Oh, I
God,
gave
we're
it
devolving
away.
into puns. Somebody save us from the puns.
Delete Audacity.
You wouldn't have the audacity.
And
gosh,
non sequitur. Straight into the
Somebody
segue.
save us from this.
Somebody save us.
Cold segue.
Okay.
Jake, you're gonna save us? Is that what I'm
I'll
hearing?
save you, yes. And
All
something that
right.
might save the world.
Ooh.
What? Saving the world?
Well,
impossible.
It might help. I don't know. But yeah, so
Awfully optimistic.
apparently in December of 2020 in Singapore, there was a California company that had a very interesting entree for this restaurant. It was the first public release of lab-grown meat.
Oh, yes.
Oh, really?
Yes, so, yeah, and it took like 2 years, they said, in Singapore for them to vet like the whole process and release it to the public. And so for $23 for, it was like 3 little tapas of chicken that was grown in a lab. People ever go to this restaurant that was called the 1880 restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, try lab grown chicken from a business called Eat Just, Just. Apparently even for that $23, they were still losing money. It was just kind of like a trial thing.
Mhm.
Still,
Science, yeah.
I heard it's way more than that.
Yeah, the early
yeah, it
release
is.
of any technology, and let's be real, this is a technology, is
Yes.
like, it's a lot more expensive. Like smartphones, like adjusted for inflation, used to be outrageously expensive. Now they're super cheap. Same with computers. Like,
yeah, and flat screen TVs, everything, yeah. So once they can,
Yeah.
it's more of a proof of concept release. Are there reviews on the flavor and like the texture and stuff?
For that, I did not find, because like the last article I saw that they were going to release it there, but it's maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Was it worth the $23?
Hopefully.
Yeah, expanding upon that, Jake, I know I'd recently listened to a podcast where they had released lab-grown beef, and I can't remember all the ways they served it, but one of them was just straight up, make it into ground beef and make a burger from it, and they said it was indistinguishable. Like, there was nothing that would have set off anything in their mind that wasn't just normal beef from a cow.
That's
Right.
really interesting. I would love to see a source for that if you could, Kyle.
I will have to provide you a source for that.
I know they've been talking about it for years. You know, growing meat in a lab. It's like biotech's been really getting into things like 3D printing cells, basically, is what it's been referred to as. But the fact that it's actually getting out there and to the point where they're allowing people to publicly release it and have people consume lab-grown meats, that's pretty interesting. I'm wondering what the difference in like carbon footprint of the production is, because like a big contributor to carbon emissions is honestly beef farming in South America.
Yeah, and I have some info on that, so let me go through here. And yeah, so you're talking about, I know they were saying that at this point, like this, they call it lab grown meat. It can also be called clean meat or cultured meat.
Okay,
But
so yeah,
most-
there's no slaughter associated. Yeah,
No.
that makes sense.
And most of it right now is just simple, like the beef just tends to be like ground beef. The chicken is kind of like what's inside of like a chicken nugget. That's what this place in Singapore was serving, just like fried little nuggets,
Yeah.
different preparations. And yeah, they still haven't gotten to the point where they can just like make something that looks like a steak, where it has like the different textures and like marbling with the fat, which I think that's what they're working on now with 3D printers, where like they're layering the different kinds of tissue to like replicate how a steak, has different layers and is made up of different, not just meat. So for the carbon footprint, it says that compared to conventional beef, so for the lab-grown beef, it requires 45% less energy, 99% less land use, which is what reminded me, we were talking earlier about, or in a past podcast about vertical farming.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Land use is considerably, like, so much of like the rainforest, and we were talking about South America, has been like devastated just to make pastures
Like
for
Bolivia?
beef, like Bolivia and Brazil.
Yeah.
Because there's so much demand for it that there's like money in it, but then again, there's only so much land and they require tons of land. And it's 96% fewer greenhouse gas emissions.
Nice.
Goodness.
So
Yeah.
besides getting the cost, it's like win-win-win.
Yeah, that's win-win-win once they get the production cost down.
So it's
Right.
definitely a technology that sounds worth pursuing.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
once they
so-
streamline it, the biggest reduction in cost of anything is streamlining the production process. That's why
Right.
like when you have like the early iPhones, they were much more expensive. Same with the Androids. They were super expensive, but as the production facilities and the supply chains got built up and the facilities went into use and they kept being able to use those same facilities, the cost of production goes down. So we're talking in maybe, depending on, certification from different governing agencies related to food safety. I mean, we could probably see this in the U.S. in, 5-7 years.
Yeah, like the one I read that was a CNBC article was talking about the release in Singapore. Was talking about like they're projecting like 2030, and that's based on if governments endorse it and approve it for public consumption, that
Yeah.
hopefully it'll be feasible by then. But I still think it's just like the really basic like I said, ground beef or chicken. Or another thing I thought was interesting they were talking about was foie gras, which is goose liver, which is like in France and like around the world like a delicacy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really inhumane because they have to like force feed geese to where
Oh,
the liver
yeah.
gets like up to
Oh.
like 10 times the normal size.
Oh, that's awful.
Oh, that is
Yeah,
terrible.
I know. It is like, there's certainly like ethical conversations you can have about eating animals to start with, but that, it's just like torturing them
Yeah, that's
on purpose. Just,
Mhm.
So, and since like the liver is like a really like simple
Yeah.
cell
organ.
or made of simple cell, they were able to replicate that.
Wow.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
there's a difference between like what we as humans have had to do, like hunter gathering, like actually hunting for an animal and using all the meat, but there's a line between that and torturing an animal to then kill it and eat a very specific part of it. That's
Well, it's
Right.
like what they do
That's
for
hard to
veal, and it's terrible.
Yeah.
But then on the other
right.
end, you've got, the improvements that like Temple Grandin made to make happy cows versus
Yeah.
very unhappy cows.
Yeah.
There's a right and a wrong way to do meat production.
yeah, and
Yeah.
like ethical conversations aside, like as humans we need protein, and the most efficient way to get protein is likely meat, or
Mm-hmm.
the alternative is generally beans, but then you run into the land area problem
Yeah,
again
like,
with needing to
soy,
grow them
which
in
is-
soil. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and like supposedly right now, I mean, they're still you extract stem cells from live animals. So there's still like that component of it, but obviously you don't need as much because apparently once you extract the cells from like a cow, apparently like a single like muscle stem cell can multiply into like 1 trillion cells, which I didn't look up how many like pounds or kilograms of meat, but
Yeah, that would be worth knowing.
suffice to say, it's a lot if you just have to do one extraction to have that many potentially you can grow cells from. Which, and another part of the cost is, obviously extracting it and then having like the facility to grow this like in a petri dish kind of thing. And there's like a
Yeah.
substrate, and you got the supply, obviously like oxygen, sugars, proteins, like amino acids. So you have to source all those things still.
And make sure that the process itself is safe and sanitary.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
And
it's
that,
an important step.
Definitely.
Yeah. It is. And was there anything else? But yeah, and then we're talking
beef?
about
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
right.
Guilt-free beef for everybody.
Yeah,
Yes.
'cause, and that there was a video I was watching like about it. And they even interviewed somebody from PETA, and apparently some members of PETA, which that's not really anything I want to get into.
Yeah, please no.
Yeah, they have their own ethics conversations.
Right, yeah. But they said they were, weren't against the idea of that if they can prove that it doesn't hurt the animal when they extract the cells.
Which, I mean, even if we're talking about pain versus, like, maiming and killing.
Right,
that's a large leap in the right direction on the ethical scale, which, if we can get cleaner food that is produced in a more environmentally friendly way and in a less cruel way, I think that's better for everyone. Because then, like, we don't have to have giant pastures of cows just to be murdered and processed.
Right.
And when we're talking about beef, how much in America or in cooking in general, how much of beef use is ground? I'd say probably like 60% at least, right? I should Google
especially
that.
So like in a home setting, yeah, for sure. Like, even like with the restaurants, like how many burger places are there?
Well, pasta.
Definitely the most versatile cut for cooking.
Right.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing with lab-grown meat that kind of, like, I'm really curious, how much are they going to be able to make meat to a point where things can be cut the right way to resemble an actual cut of meat? Because to me, the appearance of it does kind of matter at this point, although I'm sure that I can kind of shift my perspective another way, because, hey, meat is meat.
Yeah.
But still, for a lot of people, I feel like it not looking like an accurate cut of meat might throw some people off and make some
it's
because
a
that's what we're
definite
used to.
turn off if it's something like it's marketed as a ribeye, but it definitely doesn't look like a ribeye. Sorry, no, I want my money back.
Yeah, presentation matters.
Yeah, I want a T-bone steak to look like a T-bone steak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what about a Z-bone steak?
The new Z-bone steak. It's a little better than T.
Small batch crafted.
It's delicious.
Of meat.
Here, get your artisanal Z-bone steak. Lab grown.
Z, what the fuss is about.
In all seriousness, though, like, that is a problem for us now, but if it becomes standard, eventually you'll get to a point where it'll be all people has ever known, as time marches on. If it A, catches on, B, gets approved, and C, becomes a regular means of production for meat, in 40 years, maybe no one will remember what it's like to have meat, like a steak from a cow that was slaughtered in a pasture. We don't know. But that could become the standard. But until then, presentation definitely matters.
Yeah.
So I think keeping the ground beef and like something that looks like maybe like a blob of meat, like all chicken breasts look like a blob of meat to me, but keeping it to that level of presentation for now
like the kind of pink slime they talk about.
Yeah.
Nuggets, yeah. And that was, like Kyle, it was a good point that you made with the presentation of it, because they were talking about and to bring up a topic that we had talked about before in a previous podcast, the uncanny valley. They're saying kind of applies to this thing too, where,
really?
Like, the closer you get it to tasting and feeling like real meat, like when it's right on that edge, about to go over, is when people reject it the most. They were talking about.
Really?
Like, the brain just,
So it applies to taste as well?
Yeah, and texture, I think. Yeah, they were talking that, people that try it just say, like, it's close, but there's just something not right about it.
Holy crap.
And that weird, you don't even know why, but your brain just, like, trained to, like, know how it's supposed to feel in your mouth. Yeah.
It's like going to Burger King and getting a Whopper and an Impossible Whopper, but you not knowing which one's which, but one of them's not right. So
exactly.
Your brain is looking for those differences.
But it's also important to note that your brain has a preconceived notion of what that is supposed to taste and feel like. I would wager that if you had a person who eats like chicken and stuff and has never had beef, and you had them eat the synthetic one first and for a regular period of time, and then maybe 4 months later introduce them to the real thing, they'd say it's the real thing that tastes off. It's all about perspective. When it comes to how we react to things. Yeah. Because if you're used to the synthetic first, the real thing would feel off. So
yeah,
like,
I was going to say that. Yeah, like you're talking, if in X amount of years that lab grown is the normal. If anybody tried to eat meat from a slaughtered animal, it would be probably weird at that point for them.
They would use the term gamey for it.
Yeah, right.
yeah. That also
Which-
brings it to mind, like, for me, like, we talked about the Uncanny Valley before, and as we bring it back up, I have to wonder, is the entire Uncanny Valley effect based upon what we already know? Because if so, like, there's a lot of psychological implications there that are just fascinating to think about.
Yeah, and how much of it's like nature versus nurture. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to imagine it's probably tied to all five senses because I mean we're at taste, we're at hearing, and we're at visual stuff. The visual stuff's the one that's the most talked about, but I mean,
Yeah.
I can imagine it
just
just being the
robots.
same. Yeah, it could be the same for all five of those senses.
Yeah, because
Yeah, so
mouth feels important with food. So that being off, I really understand that. There are some textures I just can't stand.
Yeah, especially
Yeah.
being like ADD and very heightened sense of texture. Like,
Yeah.
you definitely be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and like I know there's another company a Dutch company called Mosa Meat I read about that they did lab grown ground beef, and like at this point the patties they can make, they're like a little paler and a little less flavorful. But yeah, obviously working on that. But I think even if that were the case and that's the best they could do, I think it's like a great trade-off.
Yeah. Like, you can make up for that with
Based on that,
seasoning,
yeah.
right?
Right, yeah.
Monosodium glutamate.
Yay!
Like,
Yeah, and then-
throw some liquid smoke on it, it's fine.
Right.
Just smother in barbecue
Just put some
sauce.
garlic on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Garlic,
knows?
liquid
Yeah.
smoke, some pepper, you're good. It'll taste just fine.
Yeah, and just the last, I know, because they're talking about like chorizo, and we're like, there's so many spices in that. I don't think you can even taste the meat. It's just the texture at that point.
Yeah. I mean, if you get close enough to where you can flavor it with spices, I think that's good enough for mass market, don't you?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
once
that
it's-
hurdle of getting people out of their comfort zone to try it. It's going to be the
Right.
big difficulty.
Yeah, and overcoming that Uncanny Valley effect. Uncanny Valley-esque effect with the food.
Right. But yeah.
I mean, if you think back, what was it, the 90s with Dolly and the big stink with, oh, hey, we cloned a sheep.
Yeah.
I mean, most of those people who had that reaction are still around, and they've kind of taught their kids that, hey, this stuff's wrong. So we gotta overcome that before people are comfortable with it.
There are always going to be stigmas attached to certain things because people come from different perspectives and backgrounds, but it's one of those things where I think it's inevitable that it will become the de facto standard, and those people are just going to have to put up with it.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I can see
that's
like
progress.
a lot of, like, especially like cattle farmer, like, what do you call them? Lobbyists.
Yeah.
Like at this point would probably be the biggest pushback once it gets to the point where you can get it cost effective, which for that same company I was talking about was like the last thing I had in my notes, that Mosa meat, where it was like paler and less flavorful. They were able to make a 5-ounce burger patty in 2012. They said it cost them $325,000.
I remember that.
As of 2019, they got it down to $11 for a 5-ounce patty.
Yay,
There you
technology
go.
improvement.
So there's that scale, yeah.
That's technological advancement right there. That's progress.
And yeah, once I get the scale of it up too, I imagine the price will go down more.
There's a lot of conversations to be had, obviously, about like how does this impact jobs and that kind of conversation. But that ties into the same conversation we're having about things like AI now. And it's just all these technologies are coming, and we have to look for other solutions to the job problems, or look at other jobs that can come up in service of these industries that crop up because of emerging technologies. I think that's a different conversation for a different day, but
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely part of it.
right.
And, like, going back to what you were saying about the price of a 5-ounce burger patty being $11, you go to a nice restaurant here, even, some burgers you're going to pay that much for. So that's not ridiculous, all things considered.
I mean, I paid $20 for a burger. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's still like, almost like over $30 for a pound, but still, like, it's not outrageous compared to hundreds of thousands of dollars, like the proof of concept when they first started.
That must have been a really good burger.
Oh, to have a 99.999% cost reduction over 7 years of research, that's insane.
It is, yes.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Absolutely.
The Lysol of cost reduction. Kills 99.9% of your costs.
Of your costs.
Progress.
Now with no CFC.
It's that 1% of the cost you got to be worried about.
Won't deplete the ozone layer.
No, it definitely won't.
So yeah, I mean, it sounds like, and we're all kind of on, like, I know we all eat meat, right? And I think I would be definitely willing to try this now.
I would try it just to see, like, what it's like now, and then by the time it's a normal thing, how much they were able to improve on it, even in that time span.
Right.
I'm enough of an enthusiast of, like, scientific progress. I want to try it just to have that experience and to have that comparison between, actual ground beef and the synthetic ground beef, just to see how close it is. And, like, even if I get some uncanny valley effect, like, I think I'd still be okay with it knowing where it comes from and what the intent behind it is. Personally.
Yeah, because you just thought it was regular ground beef and then bit into it. Obviously, you might have a different reaction than if you know what you're going into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't put me in the blind study. Please no.
No.
I'll never eat beef again, and I love beef. Please don't do that to me.
It's just a sugar pill burger. Oh no.
Oh, why is it so sweet? Oh.
Placebo burger.
Placebo burger.
No, you reminded me of an incident where my stepmom made chili, and she usually made chili, and it was really good, like one of our favorite meals. And there's this one time, it just tasted off, and I kept asking her, did you do anything different with this? Like, I mean, it's still good, it's just off. And she kept assuring me that it was normal. So she waited until after I finished to tell me that it was meat from the deer she hit with her car. And, like, I would have been fine if she'd been upfront that, hey, this is the deer I got on Buick season. But, no, like, being told after the fact, I am still uncomfortable eating deer. Because it's unpleasant to me. But knowing up front that this was synthetic beef, I'd definitely be more open to trying it than if you told me after I bit into it.
Yeah, context is important.
Yeah,
context is everything.
Consent with food.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, deer's pretty good.
Don't eat
no
the mystery
beef.
meat.
God.
Unless it's Jack in the Box tacos.
That's okay. I'll shovel that.
I don't care what it is. It's delicious.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can
And
preach at me all day.
Yes.
I don't care. I just want those tacos hot and ready.
Oh, those
Yes,
tacos are
please.
great. My
In-
dad
in
had me
20 of them,
convinced that it
please.
was kangaroo meat.
I don't care. It sounds delicious.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
yes.
everybody of that generation was convinced it's kangaroo meat, because I've heard that from multiple distinct individuals separate from one another, so.
I know. But I can't see how that would be cost effective because I don't think there's kangaroo farms.
I mean, they just have to ship it because kangaroos are like rats in Australia.
Are
They are
kangaroo
overpopulated.
farms a thing? Google
Not
search.
kangaroos on a farm, but like, I'm raising a herd of kangaroos.
The
And I gotta wear my...
Hold on. The Guardian 2019, Australia's kangaroo meat trade could be the most sustainable in the world despite welfare concerns. Is the headline.
Who needs
Mystery
lab-grown
solved. Jack in the
meat?
Box uses kangaroo meat.
Just go for the Joeys.
Maybe. I'm going to link this article in the show notes just because I didn't know that was a thing.
No,
Neat.
that's gonna be sad. I can see them like breeding them to where they have like weak legs, they can't run away.
Or beat you
Oh,
up.
no, now
'Cause
you made me
they're
sad.
brutal.
I'd rather have the slapstick version where it's
Oh.
completely intact and everyone's having to chase the kangaroos.
I'd rather have the soy that's in those tacos now.
Oh, God.
But anyways, yeah, that's what I had.
It's I love hearing about this stuff because I remember in 2012 reading that 300 whatever $1,000 figure from the
Right.
company in Europe. I remember reading about that, and to hear how far they've come along is actually amazing. I think it's wonderful. I really, really, really want to try it. I wanted to try it when it was 300,000. I still want to try
yeah.
it. Like,
Well, that's because we are mealists. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
We are mealists. Like,
Yeah,
we
you and I
tried
are.
the weird food. And
we tried the Fruit Loop donuts from Hardee's. We'll try it. Anything. I
Oh,
guess.
don't
That was a
do
food
that
mistake.
Again. Those
That
were
was
a
a food
mistake.
mistake.
That wasn't me though.
They were bad.
It was a
It could have just
no.
been our Hardee's, but those were disgusting.
Yeah, they never sounded good to me.
Don't eat food, that you heard about on
Dude.
the internet.
Yep.
Anyway,
do not donut.
Loading you up with all kinds of food information. Alright, so when those synthetic burgers come to the US, we're having a dinner date. Deal?
sure,
Ideal.
done. When
Alright.
it's safe to do it, absolutely. That actually sounds.
Oh, it's gonna be
like
a
a lot of
while
fun.
before they get here. So,
Not deal, meal.
Meal. Or no
meal. Okay.
meal or no
meal.
meal? Yes.
And now I'm hungry.
What's in the briefcase number 2? It's a burger.
Veal.
How long's it been in there? I don't know. It's synthetic. It's fine. It's a refrigerated briefcase.
It's just got its own little compressor on the side. It's like, bzzz.
Yeah.
So, in other things, so I actually didn't have like a topic I researched this week. I just wanted to have a bit of a conversation with y'all because we're all around the same age. We're all millennials. That's what they call us. But for context, I got a new smartphone today. Actually, I've been researching them through the week. And just researching them kind of brought to mind how much the technology we've used in our lifetimes, just in our day-to-day lives, have changed over the years. So, I want to take you all back. Think back in your minds to high school 2004, 2005, and tell me this. How did you listen to music? 2004, 2005.
I had a CD player that could read MP3s.
I had about the cheapest CD player you could find. It had like a remote control on it, and I thought that was super cool. But yeah,
That is cool.
Yeah, you would like hit that thing, and it would just like skip and like lock up for about 10 seconds, and then start playing again. So I had to hold that thing perfectly still. But
Oh, yeah.
it was amazing.
What about you, Jake?
Yeah.
I think CD player. Yeah, because I remember the first iPod I got was the end of, it was like Christmas of 2005. So all of 2004, most 2005 was a CD player.
Yeah, and I think up until even senior year, I was using a CD player. I had a good one I had gotten for Christmas, and it was kind of my go-to for like, riding the bus, mowing the lawn, whatnot.
Right.
But
I went through 2 of those MP3 CD players, and they were from Walgreens.
Yeah.
They were
Ooh.
navy blue and beautiful, and I smashed the first one.
Jake, I think you gave me your good Walkman after you got your iPod. That thing's awesome, and I still have it. I do nothing with
It's like,
but
it
it's
read like
wood.
some weird kind of format of, I don't know if I ever messed with it, but it read some kind of weird like compressed format of music.
it was probably a Red Ogg Vorbis.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was.
It was
a
probably
Sony- yeah.
supported, Ogg Vorbis or one of the open formats. Those were like
Yeah.
pricier.
Yeah, I still have that under my bed, so I will get back to you on that, Jake.
Okay.
Yes, we expect a full report.
Now, how many of us have owned a digital camera during that same time frame?
Nope.
Yes.
Not me.
Or a film
No.
camera for that matter.
No.
No.
I had one. I didn't know where it was.
Oh, have you? Did you have one like let's say up until like 2012? Have you ever owned a digital camera?
Yes.
That, yes.
Yes.
Now, and then of course we had MP3 players replaced our CD players, and then we all probably got cell phones around the same time, 2005, 2006, with their. I think what we had I think we all had feature phones, yes, with the very basic like 0.1 megapixel camera, basic talk and text.
Yeah.
I actually had a cell phone very early. This had to be 2004. It was some weird Nokia phone, not the iconic Nokia brick, but it was this other one that you could change the faceplate on, and it was pretty neat. But the day after I bought it, they discontinued that model. So I don't know whatever happened with it. But I could play Snake on it.
It was probably 5510 adjacent. Yeah, like most of us had like either the basic ones with like Snake monochrome screen or the very small, low resolution color screen basic camera. And that's what we had up until like smartphones became mainstream. When did you guys get your first smartphone?
2014.
Yeah, like
It took a
2013, I think.
Yeah, Sarah and I got our first smartphones in early 2011. We got some like an LG slider with a slide out keyboard. But the point I want to make is like who still owns and uses a digital camera here?
Nope.
We do have one. We just don't use it.
Yeah, our kids use it. Jake, what about you?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't use one, but yeah, A1 has like the SLR one.
How many of us still use a CD player, like a portable CD player? Like, obviously, they're still good for a car, but I don't think any of us uses a portable CD player.
No, I attempted to at one time.
The big things smartphones set out to, like, really do was not so much to become a computer at the time, but it had all the functionality of things like the PDA. What I got to thinking about, the point I'm trying to get to is, we have smartphones, and we expect certain features of them. We expect a decent camera. We expect them to be able to play, MP3s, whatever form of digital music you have, streaming, tell time, keep our calendars, keep our notes. How many devices do we think have been killed off by the advent of the smartphone? Not that it's a bad thing, just that it's interesting.
A lot.
Off the top of my head, probably 5 of them, but I'm sure that the number will grow as we dive deeper into the smartphone.
Yeah, it was just, I never stopped to take the time to think about how many things I used to be a part of my daily routine that have been replaced by this one device. And as they keep getting bigger, which is one of my gripes, I actually wish I could get one that was a little bit smaller and had all the specs that I want. Like, I used to have a CD player. I used to put new batteries in it, once a month. I'd listen to it for multiple hours a day. I haven't had a CD player since I got my first iPod. I have never owned a digital camera. I had a film camera. And I think the change has to be probably even more jarring for, like, the older folks who went from having a basic cell phone for years and years and years, and they suddenly had a smartphone thrust upon them. It's just at the age range that we're in, our age group has a very unique relationship with technology that has been used in our day-to-day lives that our parents really never used when we used them. And now those technologies are pretty much extinct. I mean, Discmans, portable CD players had a good long lifespan, but like, I don't think any of our parents used a PDA, really. Those weren't really commonplace in the first place.
Palm Pilots, Blackberries, all those, they weren't popular.
Those were all very specialty stuff.
Yeah, unless you were using them from work, you didn't have one.
No. And yeah, I'm trying to think if, because I know I had one like GPS like unit that you hook up to like your window.
That's right, you had a TomTom.
Kyle had a TomTom. I had a Garmin.
You're welcome, Jake. I fetched that for you on Black Friday.
Yeah, thank you. My Garmin.
I forgot about those. individual car GPSs, those were very big in the late 2000s. And I don't see anybody selling them other than being built in by the manufacturer nowadays.
Yeah, most of them are just a screen that's ran off of the phone that you pair to it. So
yeah, that's exactly it.
Here's a piece of tech. Did you guys ever have a pager or a beeper?
No,
Nope. I had friends
not.
whose parents had them, but our parents never had them.
Yeah, we had a pager for a little while before the cell phone became a thing. And those were interesting.
Before, like, texting? Because pagers were basic text messaging.
Yeah, very short, text only. It would, this really awkward sized device that would clip to your belt, and it'd be really obnoxious, and it would just do a little scroll, and if you weren't quick, you missed it.
Yep.
It was pretty much call me, and then signed by whoever was saying call them.
right.
Yeah, but, like, in terms of functionality, what else have cell phones replaced? All of us in our late teens, early 20s, I'm sure most of us had a habit of, like, watching movies on Netflix on, like, a laptop or something like that.
Yeah, I would say even like a portable DVD player has like pretty much been replaced by being able to watch movies on a phone
Yeah.
or tablet. Yeah.
So that's portable DVD players added to the pile of bodies that smartphones have left in their wake. Functionally, it's not that they're completely killed off. It's just that they are niche now, replaced by this friggin' rectangle.
Machine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Another one I would say would be like newspapers and magazines, news sources.
Yes.
Well, that's more of an internet thing, but as they became more connected and we have higher speeds,
Yeah.
it's fun. It's odd to me how versatile and general purpose they are. When it used to be a phone used to be you have a camera that you can send like pictures to other phones with. You couldn't even really offload them to your computer a lot of the time. You could maybe text them to your email address, but you had a simple camera, texting, and phone calls, and that evolved into you can do pretty much everything you don't need a full desktop computer for.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of phones can even play some pretty advanced games that older desktop computers couldn't handle.
Yeah, and that would be the other thing, would be like, Game Boys. Like, besides the Switch, which, unless it's the Lite, can do TV and, like, handheld. I think, for the most part, like, nobody's going to try to do handheld consoles anymore.
If you look at the popularity amongst kids, how many kids actually would buy a Switch? The kind of games that used to be on the Game Boy and like the DS you can have those on the phone, and that may not be for everybody. Some people would argue it's that the technology is still not ready, but the fact of the matter is, Fortnite proved that statement wrong, flat out.
Yeah.
Once it was released for mobile, I would say probably most kids couldn't care less whether they were playing a game on a Switch or on their phone. To them, it's just, this is what my friends play on, and the Switch is probably more of a niche device. I haven't seen any statistics to back it up, but I would bet that the Switch is actually more popular amongst smaller children and adults than it is amongst teens, because they are on the move. They have one device that can do everything they want. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just the smartphones left a lot to dust.
Yeah, and I would even say, like, the generations, like, before us that, like, would play maybe games on a computer, like Solitaire and stuff, they also are now mostly, if they game, probably on their phone.
Or a tablet.
Tablet, yeah.
Which is just a big phone without, a handset. That's all a tablet is.
Right.
Well, it's so much more convenient to have everything in this one device than needing an entire messenger bag to carry all of your different bulky devices to do different things. It is a great improvement. It's just unfortunate for all those other devices that have been absorbed.
Yeah, for my personal use, I can think of 5 things off the top of my head that I'll use my phone for without a second thought, and that not including like texts and calls, like classic cell phone stuff. If I'm going to take a picture, I take it with my phone. I don't own a camera. Everybody uses their camera. If I want to check my email or send an email, I do it first on my phone. And if the email warrants, me sitting down and like attaching documents, then I might go to a computer if I need to. But chances are I already have what I need on the phone anyway. If I want to browse the internet, right on the phone. If I want to listen to music or a podcast, that's on a phone. That's where you do those things now.
Mm-hmm.
And, if I want to just waste time for a quick second, do a Sudoku or whatever, I can do that on my phone too.
Right.
I think also what we used to listen to things as well has changed because of the cell phone. Like I never would have thought that Bluetooth would have been as prevalent as it is in terms of like Bluetooth headphones, Bluetooth earbuds, stuff like that. Because it used to be like for cell phones, whenever like before we had smartphones and such, it was strictly just to take phone calls. It'd be this one little stick that would come out of your ear, and it would just allow you,
like a mono
talk
single headphone.
Yeah, the mobile communication user experience has been transformed. And that reminds me, Kyle, another thing the smartphone has killed and is becoming more common. I have it in both my tablet and this new phone is an FM receiver. I have now a portable FM radio, which is something I haven't had since I was very small. I had one when I was, say, like 8 or 9. I used to carry it around the neighborhood with me to have music and listen to whatever station I was, tuned to, or a baseball game. But now if I plug my headphones in, because this phone has a headphone jack, it will use the wire of the headphone cable to receive FM radio signal. So if you use wired headphones, you can listen to anything on FM radio.
I remember early on with that, because I remember the first smartphone I had that FM chip in it as well, and I thought that was the coolest thing to be able to listen to FM radio with that. But at one time, like I just didn't really want to listen to things on the crappy earbuds, and I was in a situation where I'd rather have the music playing off the phone. So I just took a pair of headphones, like really crappy ones, and just cut it off at some point, stuck that plug into my phone, and it still worked just fine. Like I could switch the source to play out of the phone as well. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna have this little rat tail thing going on, and it worked perfect. It was great.
Hey, if it works, it works.
Bring back 90s hairstyle for your phone.
Yeah. But the FM receiver was a lot more popular than Asia, because I remember when I first got a smartphone, I was like, what other features are becoming common, because I was interested in the emerging technology. Not only has that always been like a de facto standard in Korea, some of them actually have digital TV receivers built into them in some places.
Oh, wow.
Gosh darn it.
So like you just flip to an app and you can watch TV. That I don't see that coming to the U.S. anytime soon. I mean, not to mention that's another part that they have to shove into these increasingly bulky devices with their accelerometers and their gyroscopes, fingerprint sensors, depth sensors. They've got so many sensors on them. That's why they start removing headphone jacks. They can't sell you a
streaming subscription if you've got a TV antenna in your phone.
Yeah, and the other market forces, but I don't know. I just thought it was really interesting for a very specific age range. All these things that we used to use and love have all been replaced by a single device, and like some of those things I don't even engage in anymore, just because like I try to use my phone as little as possible. I'm very utilitarian about my use. It's strictly for getting information. I scroll on it.
And playing games. On
occasion. But, like, for the most part, I use it for messaging and, just web browsing. And the only other thing I really use it for frequently is listening to music or podcasts. I mean, beyond that, I don't need much else. I don't even use it as a camera that much. I just don't take pictures that much, but when I do, it's obviously the first place I go.
Yep.
So that's just something to think about. Because I know older folks, like a lot of them had and still used a digital camera for a long time until, probably the mid 2010s. Just.
Yeah.
the times we're living in and seeing technology progress at the rate it has, where something is commonplace for a number of years and then suddenly it's just gone. It was weird to me to think about, but I don't know, I just wanted to talk about it.
It's like the Game of Thrones effect. Everybody's in on it, and then they messed up the ending. Now everybody forgot it exists.
Oh,
That's a very real phenomenon, actually. Yeah,
That's true.
yeah. Oh man, how many devices at one time would you carry on your body?
A lot.
That's more the thing that I'm like, oh man. Thinking back, how many things, like at the most, how many things was I carrying at one time? I think personally, I was carrying a phone, my wallet, my keys, my iPod, a pair of headphones with it, and a digital camera in my pocket. That would have been the late, like 2009, 2010, probably into 2011, when I did that. And of course, I had cargo pants and cargo shorts for this situation. Otherwise,
You had to have
Yes, the fashion was very much dictated by what devices you were carrying. I had one jacket I wore almost every day that I became known as Camo Jacket Girl because it had the pockets that fit my CD player in, and it had little slots that I could slip my headphone wire through. And it was, oh, hey, look, it's Camo Jacket Girl. Oh, she's listening to J-pop on her thing again. Okay. Don't try to talk to her, because she can't hear you.
yeah. The jackets I always aimed for, I wanted a big interior pocket so I could shove my CD player in there. Because that, for me, I used a CD player since, like, middle school all the way up until I got an iPod in senior year. And at that point, I had the, what was it called? The one that didn't even have a screen.
Shuffle.
The
Yeah, the shuffle.
Yeah.
Oh, that thing was awesome.
Because I could fit that in the little coin pouch that dude pants have, along with the wrapped up earbuds. And then I could have my cell phone, and that was all I really needed because my cell phone had a camera on it.
Alright, you need to stop bragging about those dude pants pockets. That's a topic for another day, where we don't get pockets. That's not cool.
Hey, I'm not saying it's fair. I'm just saying I used what I had.
Yeah.
Like what you were saying earlier with like playing solitaire on a tablet. My favorite thing about my iPod Nano when I finally got an MP3 player was I could play solitaire while waiting for the bus. And that was pretty cool.
It was clunky, but it was cool.
Yeah, it was fun. And like the breakout kind of game.
Oh yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah.
They had on there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot, like, just YouTube being on most phones anyway. Like, I think I used to use my laptop for YouTube a lot, and like I still watch a lot on a computer, but my first place that I go for YouTube is my phone. You know, I have to wonder how many people, like, I know laptops aren't nearly as big as they were at the start of the 2010s when everybody had a laptop because, you know, you had to. The market share of PCs has dropped so much, and the availability of just media on mobile devices is probably an extremely large contributing factor just to the disappearance of the laptop outside of people who do mobile work or have one for, you know, working in their office and they have to move office spaces.
Yeah, I would say, probably like shift even like younger, really, people that use laptops, because you see like Chrome. I mean, if you consider a Chromebook a laptop, you see those a lot in schools now as a replacement for, you know, just having a computer lab.
But they don't own those, you know.
Right.
It belongs to the school. How many of them have that personally? How many of them use that for, you know, general web browsing and YouTube?
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
And something else that's probably hard for our generation to fathom is how many people have no idea about the technologies that aren't there anymore. You talk about the meme of to picture of a cassette tape and a pencil and the share if you know the relation of these two things. But like that for the devices we used. People didn't know you couldn't jump and hold a CD player at the same time.
Yeah. But also, like, if you think about it, the people who have grown up only knowing, always having a smart device for their relationship with the internet, they have a completely different perspective on what the internet is because they've only ever seen it through this small screen of a smartphone or a tablet. They don't see fully rendered websites. The internet to them is on their phone, and the smartphone contextualizes what it is to them. Because, like, Snapchat and Instagram and all these social media apps, and then like apps like, you know, Reddit, these giant meta sites that collect everything from other web pages and put them in one place, that's the internet to them. The internet to them is highly consolidated into these apps instead of individual websites. These apps are gateways to other pages within this app, and that's the internet to them. You know, the concept of going to different websites to search for information is, you know, kind of a lost cause. Like, going to any other website regularly isn't a thing for a lot of people, because if I want information, I'm going to Google it. If I want to see what's going on, I'm going to go to Twitter or Reddit and see what's trending, or Facebook. Right. If I want to see what's going on in the social media sphere, you know, I'll go to Snapchat or Instagram, or, you know, what's trending on YouTube. That's the internet to them. They don't go to, say, Ars Technica. They don't have that opening when they open it on their, you know, Chrome or Firefox on their PC. They don't see websites like in the newspaper almost presentation that you have on the full desktop experience. There's a complete lack of context. It's a completely different perception of what that is. That just occurred to me.
And it is split into a dichotomy between that and scholarly research. That's about the only reason that someone that age is going to be using a desktop or a laptop, is going to be for scholarly research with some of those archival websites and such, and then taking that and putting it into a word processor. So I'm amazed that that's kind of how you're relegated to that, other than gaming, which you can still do on a phone. Yeah.
Of course, we're speaking in broad strokes here. It's like the majority.
Yeah.
Like, I know there are teens that know how to use Photoshop and make memes. I understand that they're out there learning video editing, but those are niches. The majority of young people today have a completely different perspective on what the internet is, on how the world is interconnected through it, and what information is available, or how to get information out of it. They don't search through individual websites. They scroll through Google or whatever search utility they're using, or whatever meta site they're using to get their information.
And a lot of that information, based on how they've curated their accounts on these different sites,
exactly,
the information's fed to them. They don't really actively look unless there's something very specific they want to learn about. Like, Reddit will post the newest stuff based on what they've selected their interest in. Twitter based on who they're following and stuff like that.
And furthermore, it's not only what have you selected to follow or what subreddits have you subscribed to. It is, what are people upvoting or engaging with right now at this moment, and those objects get weighted to go lower on the list the longer they exist within that site. So it's a very much what is going on right now that people care about.
And that now is so much shorter than it used to be.
Yeah. That said, the ability for them to go and get discussion and actually interact with people is also enhanced. So there are trade-offs in that perception, but some people might search, some people might go to a Reddit or tweet with a hashtag asking for information and more immediately get answers from people who are intimately familiar with that particular topic. And that's a different kind of power that I think is a big positive. But the perception and the engagement and how people think of things is definitely warped by what technology they grew up with, I guess, has been my whole point. And I'm sorry we went down this long-winded tangent.
No, I love it.
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
Just stuff I think about when I think about everything a smartphone can do when I'm trying to find a new one.
I
Right.
find myself thinking about that pretty constantly.
Yeah.
Especially now that my iPod is broken. So, boo.
Oh no.
Oh, you've got a phone for that.
Yeah,
You don't need to
5
give me that
seconds.
iPod.
exactly. I need a better amp for the thing, though. I really do. Oh well. Yeah. Because audio quality is not great coming out of those. But whatever. Yeah. Aw. I love you, iPod. Maybe I'll fix you one day. It's just the battery, but you know.
Yeah.
Well, if it was a Walkman, you'd be able to just pop that battery out and slap some new double A's in there.
I still have
gosh,
mine,
yeah.
but where are all my CDs?
You could find 'em.
Actually, no, I have them. Yeah, I could do that. Who cares? Why not? It's all music from like 2000 to like 2009, but whatever.
Speaking of batteries, I could go off on a tangent about cell phones and batteries and the way they're manufactured now, but I'm going to, restrain myself.
think
I
that
have
might
very
be a
strong
topic for
opinions on
another time.
the way smartphones are constructed and how they are built and the way they're presented. So I'm done with that.
No, it's fine. And I guess I am the only one left. All right.
What do you got to stop my old man ranting?
Yeah, jeez. All right. Well, I should preface. I come from a family where, like, the autism spectrum disorder is both mild and moderate, and I would classify myself as mild. So I have a tendency to have a variety of things that really, like, they make me in particular happy, where others would just completely overlook it. And so something that fascinates me in that context, and I really, this is really going to be more of a non-factual, more of a just kind of discussion little thing, which maybe that's for the best, is just the non-standardization of electrical systems, like, worldwide. Just, like, if you look at different countries and the way that you plug, say, a computer into a wall, everything about different countries is going to be different than, say, than here in the US. Like, we're very specific about one time, and there's just so many different standards. Like, for example, like, the voltages are different. There's a different rated maximum amperage per outlet. Like, that's different. The frequency for the entire system is different between 60 and 50
For the
hertz.
AC current.
Yeah, the AC current. And even, like, the outlet and plug shapes for just general appliances and miscellaneous electronics, it's all, for the most part, incongruous. It's arbitrary, or at least it appears arbitrary. And so,
yeah, because like in Europe, they have the a direct 240 volt 2 wires going into a home, whereas here in the U.S. we have 120 potential difference across 3 wires. It's effectively 240, but it's implemented completely differently. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of thing you're getting at, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I believe here it's like we have the 3 legs, so it's 3 phase, but only 2 of them are pulled for a household, and you're using the 2 legs on a 240 system, or both of them together so that you can run something like a washer and dryer. So that's the way we implement it, and it's absolutely not the same in, like, the UK. It's very, very different there.
All their devices run on 240 volt.
Yep. And so I have some websites and pictures to link to you. So I'm going to break to do that. These are just good references. They're going to be 3 pages of basically the same thing, but just different representations. And the one that you're going to use the most is the one that has the map. But if you need a tab over for quick references of the types, you'll go for the other 2.
Okay, yeah. Give me these links.
Sure. Let me get to general.
Kyle, deliver the links to us.
I am. I'm trying to.
He is doing so currently. But at what voltage?
Electricity puns. Just
shocking, I know.
All right, copy
Let's
and
meditate.
paste. That's one.
Those little faces are so cute. I like that type H.
Yep, that's the one you're going to be using the most. And then there's this third one that has more picture representations of everything, like of the actual plugs themselves and the sockets that they go into.
What does Bolivia use?
Yes, tell us what
That is a
Bolivia
good
uses.
question. They're not even on here. They don't have electricity in Bolivia.
No
Yeah,
electricity.
it says goats on treadmills. Weird.
Bolivia is like there was another one. I think if you click Bolivia, it gives you something.
They're like CE.
Yeah,
and F,
CE
just
and
like
yeah,
a lot of Europe.
Yeah, just the general European plug.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, so I'm noticing that these seem to go in order from when they were introduced, and I don't have the dates of when these are introduced because I mean those are easily researchable and such.
We'll put those in the show notes after you research it.
Exactly. Anyway, so you have various types. Some of them are grounded, some of them are ungrounded. Like you have 3 pins on some, you have 2 on others. Some of them are polarized. Type C is dangerous because you can flip that around and it's just you're on a different polarization.
Fry your device, start a fire.
It just seems
wow.
like there is no consistency here. I don't understand why our plugs
Are
and
this
our
different?
services vary this much. And I would have to imagine that this causes a problem on multiple layers.
Yeah, because like you can get plugs that go to different countries, but that says nothing about the level of current or voltage that's being applied to your device. Like electronics today pull current on demand, but if you're pulling at the wrong voltage, that can cause damage or danger. And that's why PC power supplies have that 120/240 or 110/220 switch on them, is so they can ingest the correct voltage and convert it for use within the system correctly.
Yeah, you'll see like on hair dryers and stuff sometimes too. Like
Yeah.
that switch. Yeah,
I think a
hard to
lot of
switch.
that, Kyle, has to do with, because I've looked into the foreign electric systems too at some point. It's that they were built out differently by different people. Direct current was the standard when electricity was introduced. And then Nikola Tesla really innovated on alternating current, and its AC really got its boom in the US, but that work was also done by other people later in other places and happened at different rates of growth and was dependent on the rate of industrialization of those nations or where they sourced, their materials from, who they had trade agreements with. And then how that nation's scientists said, well, or engineers said, well, we're going to implement it this way. But I agree, it is a complete fustercluck of plugs and standard that is infuriating.
Yeah, because, I mean, luckily for me, I've never traveled outside of the country. I have been to both Florida, Hawaii, and Alaska, but I've never been outside of the country. So for me, I don't have to worry about exchange. Like, I don't have to take one of those universal socket things that are, a lot of people like to criticize anyway for being, somewhat as unsafe. I don't have to worry about using that kind of thing. But still, it's just kind of a scary concept that you're taking your own devices over to another country that works on a completely different standard and trusting this sometimes cheap little thing, as cheap as what, like $10, $20, to make sure that your device will work on someone else's electrical system. It's concerning. It's very concerning, and I don't know why there hasn't been a better solution.
I think a lot of that is like no one wants to adhere to the other people's standards. It's like, we've already got this here.
Yeah, I know. It's too big to change at this point.
It's a big cost of restructuring their infrastructure.
Yeah.
Especially when
Yeah,
we're
and,
talking
like-
on the scale of nations,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like rewiring, like all these different houses and buildings, just to fit a different standard.
Yeah, but we
You can
want
do it progressively, but even then, if you're changing the plug types, then you have to have an adapter to use in this building. You have to look
Right.
at who's manufacturing for this and their awareness of that, and then are they including it? Are they the adapter? Are they not? You know, it's a giant, complicated mess of a problem to solve. Some of these are like 3 poles, and it looks like you could get the 3 poles wrong.
uh-huh.
Like
Italy.
the socket H connector, the Israel one. It looks like you could rotate that and force it if you're not careful.
Yep,
Switzerland.
I'm wondering if one of those slots, because this looks like a 3-pin, like in the shape of a triangle, but with kind of a circular back plate, where the plug would actually fit into like a recess or something. But each of those pins has a slot or a groove in each one of them, and I'm wondering if those are different sizes, because that would be the only way
so.
that I could justify having that done. But like, I'm concerned a little bit about Type F, Type Type C, and Type L. Those ones you could easily turn
Type
around.
L looks so dangerous.
The thing with Type A is it's based on the U.S./Japan power system, which is it's just the potential across the two. You can flip those safely. It does not matter with Type A. I'm wondering if that's the case with some of these other ones.
Yeah.
Because it's based the voltage is based on the differential between 2 points. It's when rounding comes into play that polarities really start to matter a heck of a lot.
And that's good to know about Type
the
A.
European Union one. Yeah.
It seems like this standard could have become a standard a long time ago, but nobody wanted to bite the bullet and adapt, so this problem was just left to fester, and it's just at the point of a major cost to try to standardize.
So you're saying that our
Yeah.
countries are introverts, huh? We just don't want to talk to each other.
Less introverts and more insular. Like, we have what we have and we don't want to change. It's curmudgeonly would be a good word. I am how I am. I'm not going to change now. But from a
Old man
practical
rant.
standpoint, it makes sense. We have what we have. We're not going to change it.
It's too costly to change.
The adapters have been proven to be safe. I work in an environment where I am working with individuals who go overseas. Very frequently, they have these box adapter kits. I have never heard of any problems with those box adapter kits because there are pieces that will convert the voltages sometimes by splitting it off to a ground or whatever. But
Which
at a glance, it is the most confusing thing. We will have these images and these maps of who uses what and where in the show notes.
All right. Well,
Is it frustrating?
I have 2 other questions.
Greenland has 3 plug types.
Wait,
why?
Greenland? Wait. Okay, I gotta see.
They use type C, E, and F, which makes
Same
sense.
as Bolivia.
C, E,
Yes.
and F. Oh man.
Hold on, I'm gonna find Bolivia.
South America.
Yeah,
Yes.
C and F.
C, E, and F. Yeah, if you live in Bolivia and you live in Greenland,
Well, it's like we
you're
have
okay.
A and B. Yeah.
Yeah.
The coast.
Nice.
So these
I
socket
know.
types are definitely families that are intercompatible with one another.
But you can't use your Bolivian devices in Brazil. They use type N.
Really?
Like,
Type
this
in.
is important.
Type in. Oh yeah,
It's-
that one.
It's type C with a third prong, so you can't plug it in the wrong way.
Huh.
Neat.
Yeah.
I do
yeah,
like
Type
that there is
neat.
a universal socket, but it's criticized as unsafe because, of course, it is. You can have different voltages and everything going the wrong way in that thing.
Yeah, and when you have those boxed kits for international stuff, like before you plug in,
They
the other
usually
person
have
going,
that.
That's what they have. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I have two other questions in regard to this. Question one: which of these types would you think is the most superior in your opinion? Like, if you look down one like the website and like the pictures and such, which one would you think would be the
Well, I don't
safest
have
to
a
use?
website. I have 2 images and a map.
Well, go down.
The map
scroll down from
below
the
the
map.
map.
Scroll down from the map.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it gives you nice, full, nice, good res stuff. Yeah, because from
I know Type A is not the safest. Type A and Type B have issues with being able to fall out of the wall very easily, despite the clamp mechanism on the holes. These are the ones we use in the U.S. Those aren't safe because there's no way to really lock them in. It's very easy to get them loose and to cause arcing because of the difference in potential.
I know that some of that is mitigated by, and this is part of the code, by the outlets have to be turned upside down so that the ground is facing up in case things fall, so that they don't get caught between the two hot contacts. It'll hit ground first and then probably just bounce off. But even if it hits ground and a hot, it's safely diverted. So that's
Which of these is the safest, though?
which would be the safest. I have a lot of reasons to think that, as much as it pains me to say it, I think Britain might have gotten it right with Type G, because that is a beefy power plug. Those spades
That
are
is a beefy
humongous.
plug, and it's the important distinction is in the U.S. most plugs plug straight in, and the wire comes straight off the back from the plug, whereas many of these other types, like the Type G and Type H, all go flush with the wall.
Which,
And that's another advantage to Type G.
Yeah.
And Type G's ground prong is much longer, is oriented differently. There's no way to plug it in wrong. But I would say Type I looks very safe to me because, again, it's impossible to plug it in wrong.
Oh, the
Because of the angle
Aussies.
connectors.
Oh, yeah.
That one does look similar to like what we use for appliances. I can't remember what that one's called.
Yes. But like if we're talking from a pure safety standpoint, I'm going to say Type K because the connector is recessed. So even if it pulls out and there is a bit of arcing going on, it's not going to catch anything because it's still in that recess. Not to mention
It has nothing to do with the smiley face shape.
It has nothing to do with the smiley face. It has everything to do with the fact that it's recessed.
It's a happy outlet.
The pins are well spaced. I'd say Type K out of all these that I've seen.
I can
there a
absolutely
definitive
see
the
that
happiest?
too. And that is Denmark and Greenland, so I'm not surprised by that at all. Yeah, that seems like a pretty solid answer to me. I would say mostly if you're in Europe and in some specific countries in Europe, you're probably pretty well off.
Yeah.
But
Is there one that's statistically better?
Yes, I was looking at that. The British socket gets the highest safety rating because it solves problems that don't exist in other plug socket combinations. The British system is pretty much the only one in the world that is fused in the plug. So, like, we have breakers here in the U.S. We don't have fuses. Like many other nations have fuses like we would replace in our vehicles here.
except for Christmas
But
lights.
they have fuses. They have fuses in the socket, which is overcurrent protection. So if you stick a fork in, that fuse is going to blow immediately. Yep. That's a safety feature. The extra safety measure keeps you safe from too much going through the mains leads and setting fire. But because there's a fuse on the live wire, you need to make sure the pins go to the right socket, which is where the pyramid stack comes from.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the combination of the fuse and the sturdy construction that make them the safest.
Yep. That being
And
said,
CNET gives them a 10 out of 10 of all the socket types in the world. I will include this article from 2009 in the show notes. I will see if I can find anything more recent as well.
I had that one.
Also, note for at home: don't stick forks in your sockets.
Just don't.
That's a bad
do
idea.
It. If
don't.
you're in those countries with the round ones, don't stick like metal dowel rods
Anything.
Or like I don't know.
Hey guys,
chopsticks.
the only things you should be plugging into an electrical socket is an electric device with the matching plug. Anything else, you're wrong.
And make sure that your cables are not frayed, they're in good condition, yada yada yada. Be
You can
safe.
put a voltmeter on there, but
Gosh, just be safe.
We don't have lawyers, but if we did, they tell us to tell you, don't do this. Don't put things in places they're not supposed to go.
So
you will either get hurt or hurt someone else or burn something down.
Mm-hmm.
Or on this UK one, like since the cord does, instead of coming out the back, it goes down. I mean, is that just an example on here and they have both? Because I'm trying to think like is the receptacle like left to right instead of like one on top of another for the in the wall?
I believe there it's only one. It's not duplex like
Only one.
like
Okay.
ours
Right,
is.
yeah.
That or side by side.
Yeah. If they had more than one, I guess it'd have to be side by side.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you had one on top of the other, the cord would be in the way.
Yep. That being
Yeah.
said, these plugs are, however, very, very large, so they're cumbersome, especially when you have a power like a power strip or something like that. They have to be much bigger, so they take up a lot more real estate. But a lot of these countries
But
also,
it's a good trade-off for safety.
yeah, and a lot of them put switches on individual outlets as well,
Yes,
which is something
that's an
that
important safety
we
feature.
don't seem to get a lot here.
I would love to actually see that. To be able to turn that off at the outlet would be really cool for a lot of applications. But like your concern with them stacking up against one another, Jake, I do like the wall flush ones we have here in the U.S. that come off at an angle specifically to avoid that issue. They come off at like a 45-degree angle from how it plugs in.
Oh, I love
If we
those.
could choose a specific offset for that angle so that could be uniform here in the U.S., I would very much appreciate that. I'd also appreciate
agree.
less wall warts or, having all this construction around the actual plug itself because it is a safety issue. You don't want all that weight hanging off the wall if you're plugging it
those
directly
built-in
in, and
transformers.
you don't want power
jeez.
strips.
Yeah.
All right.
Put them in line in the cable.
That'd be great. Yep. And all right. So my last question about this, since plugs for me tend to invoke a lot of pareidolia, which is like seeing human things in just inanimate objects. So like with this, obviously you've looked at a plug in the U.S. if you're, of course,
Type B.
U.S. audio, Type B, and you just see this this face looking at you like, oh. And it's delightful.
It's almost like sad, and then you have Type K, which is the absolute inverse of that. It's a little
I love
spiny.
Type K.
It's just the happiest looking plug I've ever seen in my life.
Also, Type N is kind of there for pareidolia. Type N.
It's just
and
kind of
Type
upside
J.
down. Like a lot of these are just like having fun, just being upside down. It's like that weird emoji where it's just like you're upside down, so you're like, woo, free spirit.
Right.
But my question is, which plug invokes either, the best facial expression or the most pareidolia to you? Which plug is just the best face for you?
I
the
like
most entertaining.
K,
I like K.
but
The most entertaining.
okay, Type I is the scream face to me.
Yeah,
Yes.
It looks like
from Scream.
it looks like really sad. It's like those like an anime drawing of a character
Yes.
like being really sad or like crying or something like that.
Right.
Super
Aw.
shocked and sad.
Yeah, it needs like a little like sweat drop coming off the side. Like, oh.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
And yeah, if you guys haven't, anyone listening, pull this up. We'll have it in the show notes, right?
Yeah.
You have to follow along. 'Cause
Yes.
It's hilarious.
And there'll be a
It is
quiz.
hilarious.
Yeah, there's a quiz.
And you'll know that you can use C, E, and F in a lot of places, but
I think
not
the
here.
funniest face, and I'm probably just biased, just the regular, like the type B we
I
have.
love
Because
The ground
it's like one eye bigger than the other.
Yep.
So one of them's
and
winking,
like
like
an open mouth.
it's like such a like it's concerned.
It's a disappointed face.
Yeah, it's a concerned face. It's got like that whole thing where like the flat part of it's down. So like it looks like a frowny kind of frowny face.
Colon capital D,
Right.
except in real life. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and with one
Yes.
being bigger than the other, it just like looks at you with confusion.
It amplifies the
concern,
parietal effect. Yeah.
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 Whereas Type C and Type L are more like Baymax from Big Hero 6. I mean, those are very much... And then there's this Type F thing going on. I wonder where they even use that. It's Type
Type
F.
Everywhere in Europe.
Europe, Russia, UK.
It's one of those
Everywhere.
cross-compatibles, because that has to be cross-compatible with C. The spacing is exactly the same.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, all I see is Iron Man. But yeah, you'll love Type F because you got like this Iron Man thing going on. It's really delightful.
Yeah. You get nothing from Type L. It's so boring.
So for me, my favorite is the one that we have. I love the Type B face. It's entertaining for me. But I mean, an easy runner-up is Type K.
We will have these links and probably more references in the show notes at wemightbenerds.com. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to our goofy podcast. We really appreciate you spending the time with us and our slap-happy voices, I guess. We've been
High
starting
energy at
later
the
and
end.
later every time, and I hope it shows in a good way. You can follow us on social media at MightBeNerdsPod on Twitter. We do have a Facebook page now, so it is also facebook.com/MightBeNerdsPod, I believe. Let me check that. Yes, it is.
Who are we? We might be nerds.
We might be nerds.
Somewhere.
We might be nerdspod at gmail.com is how you can contact us if you want to reach out, give us some feedback, maybe some suggestions, ask any questions. And I think that will do it for us.
Any plugs other than those different socket types?
Not those plugs.
The next episode will be released on February 8th. And yeah, do we have any plugs?
I kind of do.
Type K.
Type K, very happy.
Alrighty.
Just be a Type K plug. I think the only plug that I would have is a YouTube channel that I'm really I just started watching and really enjoy. It's called Dank Pods. This guy started out basically like repairing iPods, but he started moving into modding iPods. He got really pretty like the algorithm blessed him. With a video about him making a 1 terabyte iPod out of I think it's the 6th generation. It's either 6th or 7th generation. But yeah, that thing is massive, and he got it to work because like there were some issues that he had to face. But man, I mean, it's just a terabyte
I need
iPod.
to check this out.
Yeah, but it also turned into making fun of like looking back at older MP3 units when they were all so very different, and which ones were great and which ones were like the off-brand ones that were absolute crap. And the guy's personality is absolutely delightful. He's also Australian, so his accent is very delightful. It just adds an extra dimension to it. It's really a lovely channel. I highly recommend it.
That is a glowing recommendation.
That is Dank Pods.
So, Kyle, be honest. Is that what happened to your iPod? Did you try to mod it and you broke it?
No, I tried to fix it and I broke it.
Yeah, he tried to mod it. He's putting hydraulics on it because he wanted a lowrider iPod.
All right, that's it. That's the
Extra
show.
bass.
I'm Dylan Critchfield.
I'm Kyle Montgomery.
I'm Sarah Critchfield.
I'm Jacob Montgomery.
Thank you for listening to Might Be Nerds. We'll see you on February 8th. Goodbye.
Yeah, if you like this show, you might be into
Bye.
it too.
Yay!
Plug.
Oh,
10K,
real quick,
everyone.
I gotta come back. I did say I would get a video together on that Sonic 1 prototype. That is still coming. I promise. I'm working on it. I'm gonna hopefully have it done in the past couple weeks. I ran into some roadblocks with my recording and editing setup, so I have to redo some footage. But that is still coming.
Awesome.
Did you
Okay.
Jake?
Okay.
No, I did not.
Bye.
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 It's time.